sure and get out and vote tomorrow. Thank you. We're all set. Welcome to Talking Racine. Mr. George Myers.
Good morning.
Mr. Jim Spodek.
Morning. Morning.
I'm Dr. Ken Jorgen. Now, we've been calling for an election, and I guess the city responded.
Yeah, they got
or did they have this scheduled? It's tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. There's going to be an election, and it's going to be several aldermanic offices, a Supreme Court position, and the big kahuna of local politics, the mayoral race, which is interesting because we have a write-in candidate, which is very unusual for a race of this magnitude.
Very unusual.
Now, the sitting mayor is Corey Mason, who was the hand-picked replacement for John Dickert, and the person running against him is Sandy Widener, who squared off against him a year ago last fall. And there was some controversial things that took place, in our opinion, during that race. And many people contacted Sandy Widener, we know this for a fact, and said, "I'm voting for you." And she said, "Well, I'm not running." And of course, then the response was, "I'm voting for you anyway." And after hearing enough of that, she said, "Okay, I'll register as a write-in." Now, there's a subtle difference between being just a write-in and being a registered write-in. And if you're a registered write-in, the chances of your vote being counted are way up compared to just being a write-in candidate. So in deference to those people who want to vote for her, she's become an official write-in candidate. And if you want to vote for her, your vote will count. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think if the issue of the secrecy issue rises to prominence enough amongst the voters, I think Sandy has a real good chance of doing it. Now, if people are just going to go out and vote like they usually vote, and are not aware of that, which a lot of people will do that. You know, they just haven't been kept up, but they vote anyway. It's going to be a really rough go for her. But I mean, because this whole thing about closing down the city government, we've talked enough about Scott Letney and the mayor, the current mayor, and their activities in that, and pulling down the shades of government so nobody can see what's going on. She has a really reasonable. I mean, write-ins are really tough, but with that co-issue running alongside there, I think it brings up a greater possibility of her.
Well, I would like to do a little bit of shameless promotion, because I am behind her 100%, or 110%, as some people would say.
But I do think one of the reasons.
But one thing that I want people to be cognizant of is, I remember the days when it was the mayor and a secretary, and the mayor did the business of the mayor.
No.
Now we have the mayor, and we have a city administrator. The city administrator has been around for quite a number of years.
And he does the business of the mayor now.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But there are now 4 staff members since Mayor Mason took office, 4 staff members at a cost of approximately $250,000 a year.
And for a position that has relatively small amounts of activity compared to what it used to be.
Population is down close to $20,000.
20,000 people.
Or 20,000 people, I'm sorry.
It's down 20,000 people.
Down 20,000 people.
The wages probably dropped too.
From the days when the mayor handled it himself. So, that's my shameless bit of promotion.
Well, the other thing I kind of want to bring up is the fact that I don't know if this would even be a write-in level if it wasn't for the secrecy issue. You know, that gained a lot.
Well, that's what really pulled it. People were going to vote for her anyway.
I think people get sick of that, the whole idea of, you know, we're going to close government down and we're not going to let you have the emails. And, of course, they took on Sandy Widener, which I think that was probably the wrong woman to take on.
And she wins Whistleblower of the Year award.
Exactly. So outside of Racine, it's a big deal. I keep going there, but it is. You know, outside of Racine, they really, I mean, the newspapers, you don't get the National Newspaper Association, the broadcasters, the media conglomerates, the USA Today, to come on board on an issue like this unless they really feel.
I know. And when it started hitting national news outside Racine, I was totally amazed. And Jim, you were the one that could bring. Oh yeah, you saw it in Los Angeles or California, someplace down in Florida.
There's literal outrage in other parts of the community.
Across the country.
Around here, it's like, well, I don't know. Did she do something wrong?
Yeah. But
there are people that are definitely engaged. There's no question about it. We get a lot of that. We get a lot of emails and comments, and so there are people that are engaged and understand the problem with closing down and having secret courts and secret surveys and secret government. I mean, none of that works. So we'll see where it goes.
We'll cover more of that with another topic here.
Yep.
We're going to run over to Oak Creek for a moment. What's going on in Oak Creek, Jim?
Building an Amazon.
Amazon?
Right over the border. Right from Caledonia as you head into
So there's going to be like a jungle over there?
Big jungle. 2.6 million square feet, 4-story. I mean, it's impressive. I mean, 1,500 jobs.
How many acres?
75 acres.
75 acres?
Yep.
For 1,500 jobs?
Correct.
How many acres do they got down there at Foxconn?
Just shy of 3,000.
Almost 3,000 for how many jobs?
13,000.
13,000?
Max 13,000.
So it's not even 10 times the size of the Amazon workforce here.
Right.
And 10 times the size of the Amazon land would be, George, you're a mathematician. I come up with 750 acres. Does that sound right?
That's right.
750 acres compared to 2,900, well, relatively speaking, 3,000. There's a quantity of difference there. That's like 4 times as much acreage down in Mount Pleasant.
Per job, yeah. It's
and the other thing is 7.5 million WEDAC out of the state, who is also giving tax credits to Foxconn at 4.5 billion. They are giving tax credits to Amazon for 7,500,000.
Oh, these guys are pikers. they don't know how to run this. They don't know how to work the system.
No, apparently not, because I mean, I'll tell you what, I get a little.
They didn't have that state visit thing. What's where the Chinese call it?
Yeah, they didn't even have a state visit. You know, all of a sudden they got a building going up.
And no theater stage with eight politicians.
The president wasn't here.
I mean,
they just come in and get down to business.
Just keeps giving. I mean, it really does.
You know, I don't think Bezos and Trump get along very well. I can understand why he wouldn't come in for a state visit for Amazon.
But here's the thing. I mean, this is how it should work. I mean, you don't come out and take 3,000 acres away from people and using the eminent domain from the government.
Improper use of eminent domain.
You come in, you take it, and then we have this land there. We've put in $900 million worth of improvements. Now, there's going to be some improvements for Amazon, but certainly nowhere near that. This is the way it's supposed to work. They come in, no hoopla, nobody knows anything. All of a sudden, we decided we're going to buy this, we're going to move here, and we're going to put in 1,500 jobs. And, of course, the community in Oak Creek is thrilled by that. Why is
relatively simple?
Simple.
You know, it was a truly business operation,
right?
And they came in and they knew what they were going to do. Right. They knew how much money they could make off of it. And here's what we can invest.
They leasing. I think in that business park, there's another company that's leasing, or maybe bought it. I think he bought it. Now he's leasing it to Amazon.
Oh, the Development Corporation,
Development Corporation.
Hillwood Development,
right? Bought the land, $9 million. I mean, already bought it, leasing it to Amazon. I mean. I think this is kind of how it was supposed to work. And we've got acres of farmland ripped up.
Oh, and it's like a mystery hanging in the air.
Yeah,
I mean,
huge amounts of taxpayers' investment.
Yep.
That's involved. That's the really bothersome part where we're getting into the so-called...
absolutely. And that's not just little Mount Pleasant. It's all of Racine County. You're on the hook for that. All of Racine County.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a big deal. Oak Creek does it. Kenosha does it. Racine, we get Foxconn. As they fly the plane, they're going to build it, so it's really going to be...
I love that line.
That just keeps giving.
We're building the plane as we fly it. Oh, designing it, I think he even said.
Whatever.
That's crazy.
Can't make this stuff up.
Well, speaking of investments, taxpayer investments, you know, we got the Civic Center down there by the lakefront, which is like Festival Hall,
Memorial Hall.
Memorial Hall. Yeah, I wanted to say monument for some reason. Memorial Hall. I think is there something else in there too? Anyway, that's altogether it's the Civic Center, and we're wondering what in the heck is going on there. We've looked through the budget for the Civic Center between '05 and '07, and again through 2017 and 2019. Now, we're not stupid guys, and we can't figure out what in the heck these figures mean. Why is it so difficult to create a financial statement or a budget statement that people can understand? Yeah. That you can look at and say, oh, that's where the money's coming from.
Right.
That's where the money's going.
Where the revenues come in and the liabilities and expenditures go out. It's high level. It's way too high level because it doesn't tell you the real story that's going on.
Yeah.
And I think that's...
The language is sparse.
I would agree.
Yeah, you've got what, four or five entries in the whole budget thing.
Yeah,
and we're talking about
that didn't give you any information.
No,
one of them is so confusing. It's almost like, well, we got to investigate it because that can't possibly be the case. And just leave the viewing audience in mystery. The Vestal Hall is claiming, what was it, $293,000 in property tax income.
Right.
Now wait a second. This is city property. How can they be getting income from property taxes? They almost have to be paying them, paying the property tax themselves and then counting it as income, which is too absurd to believe. But it's city-owned property, and there's nobody else going to pay that property tax. So I'm not quite sure how they got that figured in there. But the thing is when you throw that additional money into it, it's losing huge amounts of money.
Well, the bottom line is it's completely not understandable.
Right.
I mean, all three of us are familiar with budgets. I mean, we're not accountants, obviously, but we know enough that we can kind of parse our way through something if it was written to be understandable. And I just don't believe that this is. And this is another example of the secrecy. I mean, you got the document right here.
Let's see here. I want to play a quick clip here of the meeting here. They talked about, it was a committee of the whole meeting, and he talked about the Civic Center. I just want to play a clip here of Jeff Cole, and he kind of explains a little bit how and why they went.
He gives his views.
Privatizing.
Yeah.
Why I voted to privatize it was they weren't doing their job, but we were also subsidizing that with all these different events to the tune of over $800,000 a year. Do we want to go back to that again? Because right now, I mean, we have a lot of events going on down there. They're just not public events. But if we go back to having all these festivals and these, when they used to be down there, they didn't have to pay for lights, electricity and all that. We subsidized everything. And I don't want to go back to where we're going to subsidize and give everything away again. So I do have concerns about that.
I don't know that I understand any more than I did 2 minutes ago.
And I think that loss of 800,000 actually never reached 800,000. And again, those numbers are, how are we losing it? Now, we can go into this, and they talk about now in that particular committee of the whole that the contract was the problem, that it was geared toward making profit, and that was the problem. And so they're going to rewrite the contract. And we talked a little bit before the show about, I don't believe it's the contract that's the problem.
No, I don't see how a contract can be causing the problem. Now, I suppose it is feasible, but I don't know why anybody would enter into a contract like that that's going to make them lose money.
Right.
But the thing is what I see the problem is when you've got a building sitting there that where the company operating it doesn't have to pay any property taxes, doesn't have to pay any upkeep of the building, doesn't owe anything on the mortgage. It basically has a building there saying, okay, here it is. We want you to rent this out, and we want lots of festivals, and they can't do it and cover their costs.
Right.
The strange thing is all these festivals and events that were taking place down at Festival Hall have gone elsewhere. Now, why does anybody else want them? Well, if Festival Hall is losing money at a higher rental fee, than these people are, why are they making money out in Franksville or out in Sturtevant? I don't, you know.
That's a real good question, and they're probably, if it's a private operation, a private company that's renting it out, they are paying property taxes.
Yes.
You know, they are paying their own upkeep.
Right.
See, and
Right.
so you know, and yet they're bringing them in, and these festivals can go there and rent money and run their festival,
Well,
whereas they can and afford to do it, whereas they can't do it at a festival hall.
Here's
Yeah,
Drew.
that makes
I go
sense.
back to it's the company that's running it. I mean, I don't care how you look. If you're not making money at it, why are you doing it? So we, as taxpayers, subsidize it. We're not getting the festivals. You're not getting the activity that Festival Hall was intended to do, was to bring activity to downtown, to spread it out. We're going to build a $50 million arena. We've got it right there. It's right there. Just run it right. Continue the activity down there, and you're going to have that overflow activity that you would have spent $50 million for, and taken the same company and had run that. It just doesn't make any sense to me. You know?
One thing that blew my mind, and it's kind of emblematic of how this thing must be getting done, $25,000 a year for kitchenware.
Yeah.
Every year, $25,000.
Either every year or every other year. Again, we're going through this budget here, the high-level budget that you get on the...
What are they using, pots and pans, you know, like 1 year and then they toss them out, or what?
I don't know. I'm just saying, it's. I think when they talk about contract, I don't believe it's the contract. I believe it's the folks running that. Now, you know, going back to Jeff Cole, all these festivals cost money. Festivals do cost money. It costs more for security. You're talking about cleanup. You're talking about a week's worth of cleaning bathrooms and garbage. There's a lot more to it. A wedding reception comes in. They lay down a big chunk of change, and the next day it's over with. You clean it up, and away you go. Those probably are more profit-driven. But the fact is, that's a festival for the community venue. You know, why not do what it was intended to do? And I just don't understand why we're not bringing in. We can bring in privatize it, but I think we need someone to come in and privatize this that can run it at a profitable venue, and actually benefit the community. I mean, it can be done.
I'm not sure quite what their criteria was in hiring VenueWorks. Whatever it was, it probably wasn't very good, because VenueWorks just continues to lose huge amounts of money. But one of the things I'd be sitting down with, and I'd like us to at least try this, because it seems like a relatively simple type of operation. I mean, it's not like a big complicated thing where you're running a factory or something like that. You know, this is just empty space. You're having people come in there and do their thing in there, or whatever.
And when they go away, you clean up.
And you go away and you clean up. That's right. It's relatively simple. I saw one down in Chicago where it was this big, huge building, you know, 6-8 stories high, you know, tons of meeting hall. And when I went in there to make, you know, some of the arrangements down there, help out with, there was one woman running around that thing, setting up the events, you know, and then of course they'd have to do the cleanup, so she'd hire the. But the point was, it was relatively simple. It wasn't like you typically think of building that size where you'd have a huge staff if it was a manufacturing place, and very, very difficult to do. So the point is that to go in there and maybe we're going to have to do that. I don't know. Let's see if we can find somebody that give us a clue is what is the difficulty of it. Why does this happen? Why can't the city find somebody and talk to somebody that says, we can do this. This shouldn't cost you any money. I know it occurred once with the golf course. The golf course was losing hundreds of thousands of dollars every year, and there was a pro, Mike Bencresciuto, who said he said off to the side, I guess, that the city just doesn't know how to run a golf course.
Yeah.
So they outsourced it and let him run it. It was still city property, and all of a sudden now you still look at the budget. The city brings in $100,000, $200,000 a year because somebody went in there and knew how to run it. And I suspect it's going to be the same type of thing here. We just need to find somebody that actually knows how to. Now I know VenueWorks, according to the newspaper, they run places all over the country. Well, if they're all running them all at a loss, and I did hear the person who ran it come to the city council one time and explain that operations like this are designed to lose money.
Well, here's the thing, George.
And now that's right there. It says,
Yeah.
you know, that's
That's our motive of operation.
And if that's what it is, it's going to lose money. And somebody says, an alderman comes up and says, well, I want you to lose the least amount possible. Well, that's real simple then. Just don't have any events.
Well, wait a minute. If it's designed to lose money, wouldn't it be the more money you lose, the more successful it is?
Well, it'd be that type of thing. And I mean, yeah. Well, I'm not sure she used the word design. I might be stretching it, but she said when these are set up, it's known that they're going to lose money. The point is that's because it's a city-run operation or whatever it is, and maybe that's what they're doing all over the country, is losing money. And
well, my question again is, why can all of these festivals and events go to other venues?
That's the big question
within the county, and these are privately owned. And they're willing to have these people come in. They charge them less than they would have been charged down at the Civic Center, and they make money.
And they make money.
And
there's something going on that we just need to find out, and the city isn't finding out, and nobody within the government's finding out, and maybe it's time. It's some.
Well, one last thing before we nail it, but
we'll form a study group, guys. That's what we need to do.
Let's get $150,000 for that study.
How much can we get for that study?
I got $20 here, guys. And
well, that's what I was.
We're going to pay $20 for a study group. I'll buy the coffee.
Here's my thing. We spent $600,000 on a study for the arena.
Yeah.
We spent $150 for a police study. We spent $100-some thousand to take an alderwoman to court. I mean, wait a sec. And we can't put. All right, let's look at this and say, hey, we put these festivals back in, or at least let's just say 10 festivals. What will that generate for downtown and for the the goodwill of different community organizations that could possibly profit and do other things in the community? It just doesn't make sense to me.
No. Well, look at the gal that we had on here who had the steel drum concert.
Right. Yep.
I don't think they broke even on that.
No, I think they lost, actually. As a matter of fact, I know they lost.
And it was a nice event.
Very nice event.
The place was packed.
Yep.
It was well managed.
We bought a table.
And they sold a lot of beverages.
Yeah,
I know for a fact. And they weren't going cheap.
Yeah.
So there was money passing over the counter there.
Right, absolutely. Again, but they're not going to have it again. You don't see it again. But
No.
you know what? If they were,
One and done.
that thing would be rocking down there. I know it will be. You get the right people in there, it's going to happen. But you got to get the right people, and I think Venue Works is just not the right one. It's time to move on. And I'm not sure that another major venue operator maybe brings somebody in who's really hands-on and makes it work, just like they do at all the other venues around. One last pitch. I got a friend of mine in Muskego, and we used to talk about.
I know this friend of yours.
Yeah, but he used to tell me. I'd say, you do a live Elvis Presley, and you do a Patsy Cline, and you do all these old imitators, and you put them on. You do a chicken dinner, and you do it twice on Sunday. And the guy told me, he said, "Man, I took your idea. I'm making money hand over fist." And that's it. And he runs it real effectively and really quick. So it can be done.
What's the population of Muskego anyway? Do you have any idea?
18,000, 20, maybe. I don't know if it's even that. 15,000.
Huh.
Small.
According to no, he does very well.
Okay, the next item on the agenda here is assessor.
Oh yeah, it's really not the assessor. It's sort of the assessor, but it's the Park Theater. It's one of those things where we haven't done a big investigation of, but I would not like Jim did with Machinery Row, but I would just somebody wants to get together $2 million, raise $2 million, and rescue the Park Theater, and I think it should be a good idea. But they're running into problems with the city that wants to tear it down.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a buttload of taxes owed on it, too.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. But the point is, there's some opposition to them just being able to do it. Now, and I looked up the tax assessment on it, and the current outstanding is like $114,000. So
that's the outstanding taxes.
That's the outstanding taxes that are due on it, and I thought, well, wait a minute, how can an empty building that is that decrepit, why would it have so much in outstanding taxes? And I went back through the history of it, and back when it was in its heyday, in 1995, it was assessed at $50,000. All right, and that escalated over the years, reaching a peak in 2006 of $160,000. Now, by that time, it's out of operation.
Yeah. What is it now?
Well, let me just follow along here.
Okay.
It dropped down. That was the bubble. That was just before the bubble. It dropped down as low as how low did it get here? It got down to $142,000, $130,000 shortly after that. But while it's empty, and while it's being declared as decrepit, it creeps back up to $150,000, which is 3 times what it was in its heyday. And I'm saying, well, wait a second. How can this be? How can a building that they're going to tear down, say it has no value, it's an eyesore, how can it be assessed at $150,000? That just doesn't make any sense to me. And other than the assessors doing something that isn't quite legitimate. Now, when the assessor assesses at $150,000, nobody's paying that taxes, right? That's what it looks like. Well, there is somebody paying the city the taxes. It's called the county. So the county is the one that pays the taxes to the city. So the city gets its money, and then the county builds up the balance. But the county doesn't assess it. The city assesses it, and then the county pays the taxes on it. So without any challenges or anything like that,
just the way it goes, right?
So the point is, it builds up, and this is going on throughout the city. I've looked at some other houses that I think individual not owner occupied, but rental properties, for not for just personal use. And I'm thinking, there are some people, some contractors that know how to fix these things up, and maybe they should get in there and take advantage of it. But when they've got a built-up tax assessment that's double what the property's worth, then that puts a stop on.
Well, and that's part of the problem with
Racine. Threshold to get
we
over.
have this huge tax liability in Racine, in the city of Racine. They're number one. They're number one in the state.
Well, we have this huge.
Well, when you say they, you mean the city.
The city.
Yeah.
The city of Racine.
Yeah.
We have the highest tax rate in the state.
Yeah. So by that, now when you have something that falls in arrears, I mean, it just compounds at this huge rate, which then takes it in and puts it into a almost vacant, non-functioning piece of property, which creates all kinds of other problems.
Well, it has a tendency, and I'm not saying specifically that is the problem with the Park Theater, but it has a tendency overall to put pressure on people to say, I don't give a rat's behind. I'm done with it. I can't keep up with the taxes. I'll own it and I'll run it as long as I can. I'll get as much money out of it as I can. I won't bother to maintain it, and then you can have it. Take it. I don't care.
Well, yeah, and I've seen
I know that happens.
Some of these residential properties, they've just been flat out vacant. The owner says, I give up long ago, and it sits there, and the city assessor keeps the assessment way up there, way beyond what it belongs. Now, if he would get honest with it and bring it down to what it's really worth.
George, we could do a whole show on just assessments. You take certain parts of the 1 through 3 census tracts, and you compare that to the other census tracts in the, let's say, more economically better off area. You're going to find that the poor people pay more in taxes than people that are a little better off. I mean, it's just the way it works.
What's the census tract out there on the north side of Racine, right along the lakefront?
That's the North Bay area.
Was it in Racine city limits?
It's within city limits, yes.
Just barely, though, right?
Just barely.
I understand that there's somebody over there who got a big break on his taxes.
Big one.
Yeah. The assessor, for some reason or another, saw fit to lower the assessed value of that property. How does that feel, Mayor Mason? I mean, I think it was him that benefited from that assessor's reduction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And none of the neighbors could get it. Now, the neighbors should be running over there and screaming bloody murder about, how that's being assessed over there.
Well, I saw you did the figures, and if you took the square footage.
Correct.
And you calculated how much the tax assessment was by square footage. Was there anybody that approached the mayor's property?
No.
He was way lower.
Way lower. Anywhere from about $200 a square foot to, I think the lowest, and it was only one, was around 140 or 145. I think Mayor Mason's was around 118, 120. So we're talking $80 a square foot more for some of the neighbors over there. And I don't care what they say, when you have that much of a discrepancy between dollar per square foot, I mean, there's
It
no
makes
houses.
you go, I'd like to take a look at that.
Yeah,
What is going on
if I was
there?
the neighbors, I'd be heading out.
Well,
to that
I'm
assessment.
really concerned that the city assessor's office, which is nothing unique, them doing this, has become very politicized.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In other words, you've got to be in with the crowd to get a business started now. You know, you have to have some connections, and the same way goes apparently with tax assessments. So it's really, really time. Just another one of those things. If we could just get some honest, open, and transparent government going, including the assessor's office, we might find some relief, and we might find fewer houses and buildings that go vacant and then stay vacant for so long, because if the tax assessment isn't just piling it up and making it harder and harder to rescue that property.
Well, we'll follow up on that Park Theater thing.
I think it'd be interesting to see how they do. Yeah,
absolutely.
I got one more thing I'd like to cover. One of my new shorts.
Oh, sure, yeah. It's about time you got some new shorts.
Yeah, news shorts.
Oh, news shorts. Okay.
The Commissioner of Public Works has retired. After 8 years, he's retired. The last time we had someone retire was when Rick Jones retired, and we didn't get a replacement for, I think it was several years, and it ran perfectly fine. Department of Public Works did marvelously without having this god sitting on top of it all, directing
Maybe we could do that again.
That's what I'm thinking, and that saves hundreds of thousands, well, I'm not saying hundreds of thousands, but it'll between 100 and 200,000, probably $170,000.
Yeah.
And that'd be just, that much money. I mean, we could turn some streetlights back on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
or buy everybody a flashlight.
Yeah.
Well, let's do the streetlight thing.
Yeah, I think so.
But I mean, it's there. It's hitting us right in the face, and we went for years without a commissioner. I don't know why we can't do it. I'm going to do a little research on it. I want to find out more about it. But I think this occurred like last Friday. Today's Monday, and just last
Well, we'll
Friday
see how the
gone.
council responds to it.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately,
let's not get into a rush. I'd like to see them really.
Exactly.
Let's
they're
do a
very capable people
little
over
good,
there.
high value procrastination. That's
But if we really don't need a director, and it's like over $100,000 a year, I'm available.
Yeah, they'll be jumping for that.
I will sit around do nothing and get paid nothing on that job.
Okay, on that note, I think it's probably time to close out. And thanks again for being here. We'll be back next week. We hope you are too. Have a good one, and be sure and get out and vote tomorrow. Thank you.